Hello, I'm Dr. Mark Dailey, and today we're going to talk about vitamin D. It would be impossible to talk about the restoration of health without discussing vitamin D3. Research indicates that without optimal vitamin D levels, it is impossible to fully regain or even maintain health. A meta-analysis of 18 randomized controlled trials has found that supplemental vitamin D significantly reduces, and get this, mortality from all causes. You heard that right. The analysis emphasized the medical, ethical, and legal implications of promptly diagnosing the adequate or inadequately treating vitamin D deficiencies. And I will say that I see that in almost all of my chronically ill patients. Some type, some extent, some level of vitamin D deficiency. Not only are such deficiencies common, but vitamin D deficiency is implicated in most of the diseases of modern civilization. Vitamin D's final metabolic product targets more than 200 human genes in a wide variety of tissues. One of the most important genes vitamin D upregulates is a naturally occurring broad-spectrum antibiotic. Since vitamin D deficiency is both epidemic and is associated with numerous diseases, one of the most important medical problems in modern society is this vitamin D deficiency. Treatment of vitamin D deficiency in otherwise healthy patients must be individualized due to the numerous factors affecting vitamin D levels. Steps should be taken to keep patients with chronic diseases associated with vitamin D deficiency, especially internal cancers, in the higher normal range of vitamin D blood levels. I don't know any single physical factor that could improve your health more than reviewing, understanding, and finally applying this information. It is especially important to get your blood levels tested so you can obtain all the thousands of well-documented benefits of vitamin D. In my view, one of the most impressive vitamin D researchers is Dr. Cannell. Although he's not a hardcore scientist like most of the other experts and is a practicing physician, which I like, he has done an absolute masterful job of reviewing and compiling the information. The number of diseases found to be impacted by your vitamin D levels are rising rapidly. Dr. Cannell points out that vitamin D appears to reduce your risk of dying from almost any disease. And it's no wonder, really, when you consider that vitamin D is not just a vitamin, but the only known substrate for a potent pleiotropic, which means it produces multiple effects, repair and maintenance corticosteroid hormone that serves multiple gene regulatory functions in your body. So just one example of an important gene that vitamin D upregulates is your ability to fight infection. And you know that's vital. Most of the patients in my facility have some type of chronic, perhaps low-level gut infection. It produces over 200 antimicrobial peptides, the most important of which is a naturally occurring broad-spectrum antibiotic, which we mentioned earlier. And when you consider the fact that you only have 30,000 genes in your body, and vitamin D has been shown to influence more than 2,000 of them, well, it may in fact have literally thousands of health benefits. So it's likely we're just beginning to scratch the surface of its true potential for reversing the modern disease state. It's absolutely tragic that dermatologists and sunscreen manufacturers have done such a thorough job of scaring people out of the sun, which is your optimal source for natural vitamin D. Dr. Cannell believes, and I tend to agree, that this is one of the major influences that has contributed to the vitamin D epidemic we're now facing. And also, it may increase autism. Their widely dispersed message to avoid the sun as much as possible, combined with an overall cultural trend of spending more time indoors during both work and leisure time has greatly contributed to the widespread vitamin D deficiency seen today, which is in turn fueling an astonishing array of common chronic diseases. Researchers have calculated that simply increasing levels of vitamin D3 could prevent diseases that claim nearly 1 million lives throughout the world each year. Vitamin D can decrease your risk of common respiratory infections as well. At least 5 studies show an inverse association between lower respiratory tract infections and vitamin D levels. That is, the higher your vitamin D level, the lower your risk of contracting colds, flus, and other respiratory tract infections. How about optimizing your level of vitamin D during cold and flu season rather than the flu shot? Well, just food for thought. The evidence is very clear that the farther away from the equator you live, the higher your risk for dying from cancer becomes. In other words, those who live in higher latitudes have significantly higher cancer rates than those living in lower latitudes, directly correlating to the amount of available sunshine you have in your area. For one example, according to Dr. William Grant, one of the top vitamin D researchers in the world, the cancer rate in Iceland is 90 per 100,000 people per year. Those in the tropics, where you get much more sun, meanwhile, have rates of 25 per 100,000 per year. And he points out the majority of cancer deaths in the United States are from vitamin D sensitive cancers. An estimated 150,000 cases of cancer could possibly be prevented in the United States alone by increasing vitamin D levels throughout the population. Vitamin D has a strong influence on the cells that regulate the immune system as well. So for those who are autoimmune, vitamin D is something that I look at right away. The way to proceed is to get your vitamin D levels tested if we haven't already done it before you begin, and then at regular intervals so you can monitor your level. It is important to make sure you don't have too much and that you don't have too little, so we want a balance. It's thought that 85% of the American public is deficient in vitamin D, and over 95% of African American or deeply pigmented individuals. I personally take a liquid vitamin D, which also has cofactors to help your body utilize the vitamin. But I hope that this has been enlightening and informative, and I hope that it helps you on your quest to restoring or maintaining optimal health. Thank you so much for your time and attention. God bless and have a wonderful day.